Although the game is very similar, there are a few minor adaptations that are necessary, but for the most part it's the same game. We encourage people to brush wherever they can and do slide deliveries and everything else that sighted curlers do. We have a few pieces of equipment that we use for adaptation. For example, the broom that has a light in the handle that people will use sometimes on the ice. We have the game board that we use for teaching the game that has raised tactile high mark on them that people can actually feel where the rings are. But other than that, the game is very similar. Not very many other adaptations that are necessary to make this game fun and successful for vision impaired people. The most important part is to realize that coaches that are out there that are going to be helping, you already know how to coach somebody how to start curling. The biggest challenge is to try and find the right pieces to coach somebody who has no sight or somebody who has very little sight. They need to understand how the game works. What we do is sit them down off the ice. We'll actually have a game board that we have. And then what we've done to customize this, we've drawn with tactile material the circles of all the rings, and we've also drawn the line, the center line, and also the center line going through the house. What you're really doing is painting a picture for somebody who can't see it, and you have to be able to do that as a coach. I think is paint that picture and make somebody comfortable when they step on the ice for the first time, that okay, this is what he was talking about. So step down on the ice with your non-sliding foot.
Should I put my broom down?
That's good for support, yes. Good. Okay, then we'll walk up to the hack, and you'll see that there's a hack on your right side and on your left side with the center line in between. And we'll just go down and just feel where it is. Just get used to the hack. Just feel it, so you get comfortable with it. You're a right-handed person. You're going to throw rocks with your right hand. So your right foot is always going to be in this hack here. This hack you will never use. Okay, so let's get, right now, we're going to walk down the ice. You want to stand up. So you're sitting in the hack. And if you want to grab my arm here, we'll start walking, okay? So the first spot we'll get to is right here, and this is called the back line. This is the back of the house.
Yes.
If you take 2 steps, that's the 8-foot line is right there.
Okay.
Take 2 more steps. Now we're at the 4-foot line.
Okay.
Take 2 steps. Okay, that's the center of the house right there. That's what we call the button.
Okay. Any marking there? Or?
There's a hole right in the middle.
Oh.
Right there. Okay, that's the center of the house. Okay, and then the same thing on the other side. It's the top of the 4. Top of the 8,
Okay.
top of the 12.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the house. Now we'll keep walking. We're going to get to the hog line. This is the first hog line, or near hog line, is right there. You know, you have to, when you're releasing the rock, you have to release it before you get to this line.
Okay.
Okay? Now we'll keep walking, and this is a long walk to the other end. This is the top of the house right there. There's the center of the house. And then if you take a few more steps, we're going to end up in the other hack. So this is the scoreboard. And if you come over to the left side, there's a half circle here and it's painted yellow. That's for the yellow rocks. So the yellow rocks score will be on the bottom of this. And if you go up to the top of the scoreboard is a blue half circle. That's for the blue rocks.
Okay.
Okay, and then if you go this way, here's a number 1. There's a hook on top of that. There's a hook below it.
Okay.
Okay, and then number 2, same thing. We talk extensively about safety on the ice, and that's really an important part of that discussion, that especially vision impaired curling, is that there has to be safety first, and there's lots of safety concerns that we address. Same rules that apply to fully sighted people apply to vision impaired people. Just be safety conscious. You know, don't do certain things on the ice. Don't jump over rocks. And as long as you understand where you need to go, the one difference is that the B1 should go down to the other end of the ice because they're not involved in the brushing of the next stones that are being thrown, which is different from sighted curling, but other than that, there really isn't any different. Okay, and what we're going to do here, Ben, is we're going to get used to the slider on your foot. Grab the brush like that and like that. Okay, and you can once in a while feel where you are so that you don't lose your spot. Okay, now stand up a little straighter. Okay, like that. Okay, put the other hand on it, just like that. Okay, let's go. Okay, the brush is only for support, just so that you don't fall over. And you're still pretty close to the board, so I won't let you go away from it. Well, I think quite simply for me, the role is just to make a player comfortable on the ice. It's to try and teach the game and have each player play at the best of their abilities. And our role is to not just teach the game and teach the techniques, it's also to really become a friend to them on the ice and start working together as teams. And the role is just to have everybody enjoy themselves when they're out on the ice. Okay. And what Ben's got here is a stabilizer. He'll use that for balance when he comes out of the hack, when he does his slide. With Ralph, he used a broom, but Ben prefers to use a stabilizer. Okay, we're going to go through a few different procedures here on how we actually deliver a rock. Okay, so the first way we'll do this is by me kind of lining you up and putting your feet and your hands where they need to be, and we'll go through the motion of the different points on the delivery. So what you want to do first, and I'll list them off first, and then we'll go through them in real slow motion. So the first part will be that your hips will be raised a little bit. If you want to demonstrate that up, like that, okay? Right there, that's as high as you want to go. Okay, you can go back down. Okay. So as soon as you've done that, you want to pull the rock back towards your foot.
Right to my foot.
Right to your foot.
Okay,
Okay,
so hips up and
hips,
pull back.
hips up, pull back, and as soon as you start pulling back, sliding foot will go
Back.
right there.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and then you'll park it right there.
Right.
Just hold it there for a second. Then you'll start to move this rock up a little bit.
Okay.
And as you're moving it up, this foot will then follow and right in behind the rock.
Like that.
Just like that.
Oh,
Okay? Perfect. Okay, so I'm sitting in the hack now. I've got the rock in front of me. So arms straight. Okay, it's straight in front of my foot. And I'm sitting with my sliding foot beside me.
okay.
So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to lift up a little bit. I'm going to pull the rock back, which also move my sliding foot back to there.
Back.
I'm going to park it there for a minute,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to start to push this rock up, and at the same time I'm going to bring my foot up. This is where we'd finish.
Okay.
Okay, my foot will be behind the rock,
Okay.
well, and my back leg will be just stretched out behind me. Okay? Okay, so let's just go through that in slow motion just up to that point. Okay, remember, hips up, rock back, foot back, park, slide rock forward, and there. Okay, and you'll want to get this foot in behind the rock as much as possible. Now we'll go to step 2 from there, and step 2 will be the actual slide.
Oh, okay.
Okay, no release yet, just a slide. Hips up, yep. That's it. Nicely done. Normally you start at a 12 o'clock position, but for the intern, we'll move the rock to about the 10 o'clock position so that the front of the handle faces 10 o'clock. You'll start your slide with that, like that, and just before you release it, you'll turn it straight, and then just take your hand off and let it go. Okay, you'll do the same thing with the outturn. You'll start it at 2 o'clock, and you'll slide out like that, and just before you release it, you'll turn the rock a little bit, let it go. And this hand should always feel like you're doing a handshake.
Okay.
Okay, that's the finished position of letting the rock go.
Okay.
Okay? That's it. All right, let's do it. Okay, we'll start with hips up, rock back, foot forward, that's it. Perfect, nicely done. Yes. The other part is that the curler that you're working with has to have a lot of trust in you and really has to have full trust both ways and understand that if you don't have that trust, then there's going to be hesitation maybe on both sides. Trust is established over time, talking back and forth between the curler and the coach, and you have to establish that trust. And it doesn't come instantly. It's something that you have to work at, and every time you're on the ice, it gets a little better, and you just keep working back and forth at it. It's important to know what the curler's limitations are. It's important for the curler to know that the coach is willing to look at different things and wanting to do different things and experiment different situations and try different things. And the trick is to try and find something that will work. And regardless of what the limitations are, there is always something that will work, and you just have to be persistent in communicating both ways and establishing that trust. So how far down the ice do you think you can see when I'm holding the brush over there?
The first and foremost element to discuss is probably the level of vision that each curler has, because it's unique to each individual. Maybe the hog line would be good.
The near hog line?
The near hog line. I would never be able to see it at the other end. I know it's there, but I can't really tell. Giving examples and doing some trial and error things on the ice is really important, and I think a coach should feel free to do that, and the curler would be certainly open to helping the coach establish how far he or she can see.
Or do you want to try a black handle?
I prefer the black handle because
Okay.
the black handle makes a contrast.
Why don't we trade brooms for a minute and we'll try that. So the black contrast of the handle on this broom will give her something to aim for. How's that? If you need me to come closer, just let me know.
Maybe just a wee bit.
Very nice. Beautiful. Dead on. Okay, where do you need me to stand, Ralph? How far can you see?
I've noticed a decrease in vision, and I've had to adapt myself to, and one way of doing that is the person, the coach, standing to show me has had to move closer to me. They're standing now on the rings on my side, whereas before they didn't have to stand that close.
I think I can see up to about the front of the far end of the circles.
Okay, let's give it a try. Just stay where you are. Somewhere about here. You need me a little closer? Okay, maybe the contrast between the white ring and my black shoes and black pants might help you.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Okay. Whenever you're ready, we'll do an out turn. Perfect line. Good job. Ben, how much can you see?
I can't see nothing.
Okay, so you're a B1 with no vision.
I came from different country, so curling is just new for me. And in my country, we don't have this kind of sport, so I come and try it.
So this part of the delivery will line Ben up first by sight, and that's me lining him up properly in the hack, making sure that his feet are straight, his knees are straight, and then the last part will be my voice that he'll listen for, just to make sure that we're on the same page. Okay, Ben, so we're going to go through a whole delivery here, and I'll make sure that you're lined up properly, okay? So just to make sure that your feet are straight down the ice, that your knees are straight. Right now your feet are good. You can sit down. Move your left foot in a little bit. That's it, right there. Okay, you're nice and straight. Okay, throw an in turn, normal release, just to my voice. When you're ready. Beautiful line, nicely done. Communication comes in many forms. Verbal communication obviously is the big one. It's very important that you describe all aspects of the game. You're constantly talking to the people that are on the ice about maybe where that rock finished, what happened to that rock, where are the rocks when I'm going down the ice, brushing, what do I have to look out for, things of that nature. The other part is always lining up brooms on the ice, communicating to the curlers who are sitting in the hack ready to throw a rock is what kind of shot is being called from the skip at the other end of the ice.
If you can still see well enough to sweep, the coach will tell you where the rocks are towards the house. How far can you go into the house? Can you only go up to the hog line? They'll tell you where the rocks are, tell you when to stop for safety. The communication is in all aspects of the game.
It's important that the brushers know where the rocks are at the other end of the house, and this is strictly for safety reasons, because when you're busy brushing, you might not be able to look up quick enough to see where the rocks are in your way. So the guide or coach that's on the ice should always let the sweepers know where those rocks are positioned anywhere over the hog line and let them know how far they can actually go with their brushing. First, is the rock coming up on your side? The other thing that we'll always do is the coach or guide will walk with the brushers down the side of the sheet, follow them, and if there's any obstacles in the way, you'll always let them know that there's something coming and that they'll have to step aside.
It's also just standing on the side, make sure that you're in the right place, that the coach communicates, yes, you can stand here, no, you shouldn't stand there, for whatever reason. And it's just not the player throwing the stones. It's the player sweeping, it's the player standing on the side. It's all aspects of the game.
When you're finished with your second rock, then you'll need to know where to go from there. So, Ben, for yourself, you're the B1, you're totally blind. When you've thrown your first rock, you'll come back to the hack and then wait for your second shot. When you've finished your second shot, you want to start making your way down to the other end of the ice. And when you get to the other end, you'll want to get up on the backboard in behind the hack so that you're out of the way and that you not get hit with any rocks that come flying through the house. Okay? For the second, Ralph, when you're finished throwing your two rocks, you'll want to go just over the hog line and wait there for the other team to throw their rock, and then you'll come back for brushing for our next rock, and then go back across the hog line and wait there. For the third, it'll be the same story for when they're brushing for the lead. Step up a little bit. And for the second, there. Wait across the hog line. For the third, when the skip is throwing their rocks, they'll have to be over at the other end of the house because they become the vice skip at that point. And for the skip, he'll always be at the other end except for when he's throwing rocks. And we'll just follow standard rules for that situation. Okay, what we're going to show here is how we line up the broom for a second positioning of the broom, because somebody who has maybe 5% or less sight won't be able to see the brush at the other end of the house where the skip is holding it. So our challenge is to try and find the right spot to put the broom down closer so that whoever's throwing the rock from this end will be able to see the brush. And the first thing we do is line it up by sight. And what I'll do is I'll just stand right from where the rock is going to be thrown from. I'll line myself up with the brush at the other end of the house, and I'll just start walking towards it and trying to stay as straight line as possible. And then I'll just stop where I think the curler needs to have it. So right now I think I've got a pretty straight line from that rock in the hack through this brush all the way down to the brush at the other end. So in this case, I have Ralph available to put the brush down over by the hog line, And what we're going to try and do is get him to put that brush in the right spot so that now we have this rock that's in the hack here, and so that it will be lined up with the brush that the skip is holding at the other end of the ice. We're going to get Ralph to put his brush down on the ice, and I'll try and line it up from the hack from where this rock is, and I'll try and line it up with this skip's brush at the other end of the ice. If you want to pull it back, Ralph. Good. Up just a little bit. Good. Okay, now we've created a straight line from this rock in the hack to that brush all the way down to the brush at the other end of the ice. You have to be patient, and it takes a little bit longer sometimes for somebody to learn the skills, and you keep working at those, and eventually they will learn. And from those challenges come your rewards. That eventually it just becomes such a rewarding experience that when you all of a sudden see somebody do a perfect slide down the ice where they've maybe struggled with this slide for months and maybe years, that they weren't able to get it, and all of a sudden now they get it. And you see this perfect delivery down the ice, and the rock ends up in the perfect spot. Those are highs.
Once in a while, feel where you are.
Those are all things that you look forward to, and each time one of those happens, it's just such a reward and such an uplifting experience that you just can't describe it.
Good job.
Oh, you got to come out and try it. Got to meet these people. They're a lot of fun, and they're more than willing to learn. They love the game, and you just have to come and try it.